It's
Hey, what is going on? And welcome to the Dispatchers Roundtable. And the last time we were here, when we did this last month, I did not have any music or anything like that, but I do this time. And I'm going to bust that out here in just a moment. I just want to throw something in the comments to say welcome and say hello. Do your roll call, please. Those that are joining in with us right now. And probably going to work on a little intro video or something like that here pretty soon. But here comes the music. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to the Dispatchers Roundtable. Yeah, that is what I am talking about. Welcome back, everyone. Again, this is the Dispatchers Roundtable, and this is round number 2. And this episode is supported by In Digital, a leader next gen core services. And I am excited to be back. Again, this show, just like open mic, however, I do this one every, twice a month. I'm doing this. And this is going to be a good one. And our good friend Sarah has joined us here along with a bunch of other people. And she puts on there, that's a hot beat. Yeah, girl. So if you were not here for the Dispatchers Roundtable round 1 last month, what we talked about was was COVID-19, of course, and there's a little bit that's going to be coming in this one as well, but there's going to be a mixture. Also, the virtualization of 911. But before we get to all of that, I want my guests to go ahead and introduce themselves. So I guess from the way I see it here, or the way they see it as well, let's go ahead and start at the top and then come back around to the bottom. So Rosa, go ahead and start us out here with introductions.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's 5 o'clock over here in California. I'm Rosa Ramos, and I'm dispatch manager for the Alameda County Regional Emergency Communications Center. And I'm also the second VP of county.
Hell yeah. Work it. And next up, and she has frozen there a little bit.
I'm Leah Hornacek. I'm the Deputy Director of Grand Traverse Central Dispatch in Michigan, right about there.
Oh, she did it. She went there.
Did it. You know you're from Michigan when? Right there. I'm also the second VP of Michigan, Dina.
Oh, snaps.
It's my turn. I am Halcyon Frank. I am the founder of the Dispatch Lab. I'm not a second VP of anything. And I dispatch full-time for the Saunders County Sheriff's Office here in eastern Nebraska.
Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Well, welcome all of you. And especially everyone who is joining us. Again, roll call. Where are you watching from? And if you have any questions as we're going through these topics, please throw them in there. But give us, be a little patient with us, because the way this platform works, and as well as Facebook, there's about 3 to 4 second delay, I believe, in when we ask questions and then when you answer, of course. So if we throw something out there, or if you're asking a question, I'm going to be watching the comments and everything. I will get to those as they come along. So one of the first things I want to do actually is go back to Rosa, because something happened today in over in Cali that is very cool. And there was a lot going into it, a lot of support that they need. So go ahead and take it away, and we'll see what the news is.
Awesome. So actually, yes, it was actually yesterday. It was a very big day for 911 dispatchers here in California, where the actual assembly heard the Assembly Bill for 1945. So Assembly Bill 1945 is basically seeking reclassification for our 911 professionals here in California. We know it's happened in various other states. So it's not impacting benefits. It's not impacting any fiscal budgeting or anything of that nature, but it's basically moving us towards the appropriate classification of being a first responder. Right now, we're all viewed as clerical employees, and we all know very well that that's not what we are. We are the first responders. And so yesterday was a huge day. And a fun fact and really interesting thing to point out is that this movement actually started by one voice, and it was, but I think she's a dispatch manager out in the central part of California, Maribel. And Maribel actually reached out to this assembly member, and said, "Hey, we need your help." And so one voice really championed, started the cause, the movement out here in California to reclassify. So luckily for us, we received lots of support. We did start to receive some opposition when we began the chase for this. Unfortunately, by some men and women in the actual field that were not as supportive of us, feeling that we were watering down the title of first responder. So yesterday was a huge win for us. It's only the beginning. So for California dispatchers that are watching right now, what we really need is for you to continue the movement, continue to champion our cause, reach out to your local unions. We really need support from our field units, the unions out there. And if you have any connections with the press out there where you can have them reach out to the county board to talk about AB 1945, it would be very helpful for us.
Awesome. Thank you very much for putting that information out there and for everything that all of you are doing. So this is the first step, but where do you go from here? Like what does the rest of this process look like then?
So it has to go through 2 other hearings. I think it's 2 before it actually gets to the Senate. So it has to go through before the fiscal committee to review, to just make sure that the bill doesn't impact any kind of budget, state funding, local budgets. And then it's heard at I believe at another committee, and then it can move on to the Senate. So we're hoping that all the support that we received yesterday, it's just going to continue and it's going to build. But we need people to really continue to voice their support, because I truly believe that when we went out there and started advocating for AB 1945 and sharing the information about the opposition and the support, dispatchers in California really stood up and held the line. Social media has been incredible. I mean, the Instagram, the sharing of the story, and it wasn't. We didn't want to get everybody upset or to say, you know what, it's us against them, but it was really an opportunity for us to be united. And I think we're going to go in a little bit into talking about, the centers, but we're all very good at complaining about the air conditioner, the heater, my desk doesn't work, we need new chairs, right? But it takes a lot of work for us to unite for one purpose and one goal. And this was the time for us in California where we all did that. So it was.
Yeah, and I saw it all over, social media and everything. And I was seeing all of the news stories and a bunch of other stuff this morning. That's why I was like, oh, it was today. But yeah, no, it was yesterday. You had a lot going on and everything, and I look forward to watching, and seeing how everything is gonna end up playing out there. So one of the first things that I want to talk about now, because we're living in some strange times. There's a lot of bullshit going on, and there are some there are some states that are starting to slowly reopen. My state is one of those, Indiana, and I'm sure that with those states opening up and everything, there's a lot more that's starting to come out and happen even more in 911 is what I'm getting at. So with not just right now, but from the beginning up till now, how do you keep morale up in the center when everything seems to almost be doom and gloom? There's dispatchers going into centers where they're having to and for good reason, of course. They're having their, you have to have your temperature taken to get in there. You don't want, sick people coming in and then, spreading anything like that. There's a lot of things that are going on. So how do you keep, and this is for any one of you, I want an answer from each one of you, but whoever wants to start, how are you keeping up, morale in your center? How about we start with Leah?
I knew you were going to do that.
It's because of those awesome gnomes that you have in the back.
My gnomes are tough.
They are. They look awesome.
These are really strange times, and the unknown and the uncertainty, and then to throw change on top of that, because nothing really stays normal. You know, dispatchers aren't really the greatest with change all the time in their environment. They can handle it on the phone and on the radio, but when you change things in the center, it gets a little interesting. But for us, moving forward, or when this kind of started to have an effect on us, being present and communicating were the two biggest things that we started with. So my director and I, we split our shifts. Basically, I'm at work right now at night, so I pretty much work the night shift and he works the day shift. So we're talking to our people and we're keeping those lines of communication open, and everybody's getting the same message. It's been really beneficial and really helpful. In turn, I found my way of listening and being there to listen is a lot better. I'm not everybody's getting everything through emails, and you're not fudging up the message. So it's been really good for us moving forward. This will definitely be something that I know that we'll keep, maybe not to the volume that it is right now, but that's been really helpful. And I mean, that was the thing that we had to start with, just being present so that people were, I don't want to say scared, but like I said, the uncertainty, you don't know what's coming. So to have that support system right off the bat, that was really important for us.
So a strong support system is one of the things to keep morale going up.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Big time.
What about you, Halcyon? How are things working out with you in your center? Now, refresh my memory. Do you hold a supervisor, CTO, or
I don't want
you can ask taking names, dispatcher style?
Yeah, I'm just well, we're a small center, so I think we really hit it on the head. First and foremost is communication. I think we get like just so much communication and information thrown at us by media and the outside sources, when like in reality nobody really has any answers. So if you're in your center and you can at least provide, some guidance, and here's what we are going to do with the information that we have, and here's how we are going to address this to try to keep you guys safe, and communicating that, I think that that's a huge benefit to the center. And it's really easy, especially in times of like crisis within it. Like the less you know, that even like you're just going to get more scared, right? So the better we do at communicating, keeping those lines open, the less misinformation there is. It's basically just, the country and the media on a smaller scale. Like, all this stuff is coming at you when you get a clear message from the people in charge. It's really helpful, and, kind of keeps it not normal, but like as normal as possible, because everybody's on the same page going forward.
Right. Now, do you end up, I guess, being seen by supervisors, maybe your director or other coworkers, as not so much someone in charge, but in a higher spot? What I mean is, because you run the dispatch lab and you do a lot of training stuff. So do they come to you more to see, what can we do? Like, from your opinion, with what you're doing with the dispatch lab, and this, like me being your, anyone in your center, is there anything that you can hook us up with to help us keep our morale up? Like, does that happen at all? Because, you've got that unique position where you're also running your own company.
Yeah, I think it does. It's definitely like, I'm very lucky. I work in a place where it's a lot of give and take. Like, I learn from them, they learn from me, and because I'm still relatively new, so to that center. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one thing I've learned just over my career is sometimes it just takes that one person to step up. So we actually switched to a 12-hour schedule, and we are working alone. So not only now you're at work for 2 more hours, but you can't leave, you can't go get food, you can't really order it in. So I had brought in like some snacks. Well, then what had happened is, because I brought snacks, other people brought snacks. And it's not about me bringing snacks. It's just sometimes you just need that first person to open the door and to like model it, and then everybody kind of jumps on. So I definitely think that if you want to keep morale up, you have to be the one that's willing to like step up and do something out of the norm, and even something as simple as snacks or something like that, to where it's showing that you're like, hey, we're in this together. How can we make this a little easier?
For sure. And we all love food, right? So that definitely makes it better. Before I get to you, Rosa, someone had posted in here. I'm going to see if I can post it up right here. And it says, we had an auction for a mega pack of toilet paper to keep morale up, raised funds for the TLC fund. It was a win-win for everyone, took everyone's mind off things for a while. I know this sounds funny, but it worked. So that's cool. And it also says on here, so the TLC is a fund for 2 telecommunicators who battled cancer here in North Carolina as well.
Awesome.
So that's just one more thing there. So Rosa, how about you? What is it that you're doing in your center as a center manager, to keep morale up during these strange times that we're living in right now?
Well, we've done a few things at the center. Obviously, we've been looking at call volume and adjusting staffing accordingly, right? So at one point we were running at X amount of dispatchers, and we realized, we don't need to keep mandating all these people for all this overtime if call volume doesn't require it. So it was cutting back on the overtime. Our center wears uniforms every day, and it was, how can I make my dispatchers feel not only safe here, but feeling that we genuinely care about their health as a human being, not because I need you to come in and fill a seat. It was, I want to make sure that you're going home safe and healthy to your family, and that when you are with your family, you're not stressing yourself out by doing things that you don't really need to do right now. For example, going to the dry cleaner to make sure you have your clean set of uniforms. Our first responders out in the fields were given the autonomy to wear a different kind of style of uniform because of, obviously, bodily fluids, whatnot. And for me, I was thinking, you know what, you guys, just dress down. Just dress down, be comfortable. You don't have time to go to the dry cleaners. The dry cleaners are shut down. It's one less thing you have to worry about. Another thing is, Halcyon and Leah talked about a lot, is communication, right? We work in a communication center, and there's not a lot of communication. I'm sure that goes for a lot of centers, right? We are professionals at communicating, but we can't communicate with one another. So what's something that we can do is just sharpen our tool set at that, right? Jumping in front of potential miscommunication. Another one is owning up and saying, hey guys, I don't have all the answers. This is new to me too. And just being a human about it. It's not my manager, my dispatcher. No, it's just being inclusive and communicating with everyone and letting them know we're all in this together. Leah talked too about changing her schedule. For me, obviously, I have the ability to work from home when I need to. And it was very much encouraged by the chain of command. Hey, if you can work from home. But for me, I chose to split my time between home and the center because I want my people to know that I'm there. I want my people to know that I'm available to them. I may be cooped up in my office because of the whole social distancing piece, but I'm here if you need me. Another thing is not just addressing the physical aspect of this, but remembering, hey, we're all going through a difficult time, and it's emotional, whether or not we want to admit it. It's emotional. It's affecting, we're on this constant overload. And so, we're doing the temperature checks, sanitizing like crazy, but what are we doing to address the physical part? I'm sorry, the inside, your emotions, your spirit. How do we keep you guys centered and feeling like we care about you more than just coming in to fill that chair? And part of that was, and continues to be, just talking to people and saying, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. I'm coming into work. No, but how are you really doing? Mm-hmm. And if you're not doing okay, you know that there are resources. And now I have my HR hat on, right? Like, hey, we have EAP, but it's true. Those things are there for a reason. And it's okay to reach out. It's okay to
Yeah.
use them. So that's kind of how we've been dealing with things at my shop.
That's good. I can see all of that working very well. Because when I was in dispatch, I remember that it was comforting to know that my deputy director and director were there if the shit was hitting the fan or something was going on, and they would come in every so often. You guys need anything? You all right? Sometimes would be like, back up off. We got this shit. don't bother us. We've got this. But if anything else was going on, sometimes they and both of them came from the chair. They came all the way up to the top from where we were at. They knew the system, how everything worked, and how we worked. They had the same mindset. So it was cool to have them come in every so often, even if it was just to walk the floor and just kind of watch, because they knew if we did really need something, we would turn and say, hey, can you check this out? Or what do you think about this? If we had time, of course. But that I can see in keeping morale up is a good thing, because you want to have somebody there if you need to be able to look over and understand that. So that is really good there.
That's been it's been really like a privilege for me to be able to be here on the midnight shift and listen to my people speak. And sometimes you come to some realizations that maybe what you're doing is wrong, and they're not afraid to tell you, which is great because you're right there with them. So like on the communication front, we were trying to send out everything that we were getting. And finally somebody's just like, can you stop with the COVID emails? You know what? Yes, I can. Like, let's just put it into 1 a day instead of 16. And so you start to learn, you get better as a person, and then that dialogue opens. But also my people have the greatest ideas of boosting each other's morale, and letting them do that and giving them credit for it has been awesome too. I have one guy that made these hilarious central dispatch like tokens. They've got quarantine on them with our logo and maybe another funny graphic, but that I won't show. But it was something funny to put in somebody's mailbox, and it was great. People laughed. And so just letting them do that stuff, and it has a really good positive effect.
And it just one more thing is, I think at our level too, is to remember that even though our teams are like, you know what, I don't want to see the email, but sometimes they do. There are those that and when you get them from the top and they thank every single department except for comms.
Right.
I think that happened to us at our center, and I was like, skirt, pump the brakes. Let's send out some kind of amendment. I'm sure that it was not intentional, right? And a stressful time, but it's, for supervisors and managers, it's like you have to make sure that you communicate not just with your people at your center, but with your chain of command, and tell them, hey, when you're sending out love to those people out in the street, to fire prevention, to, records, you have to make sure to include dispatch, because they are watching. Silently, they're watching, and this matters right now.
Yeah, I think kind of on this topic, a little bit leadership too, like you guys are saying, you get to go out and walk around. Like, I think if you're a leader and you want to like kind of temperature gauge on how you're doing, look at how people react when you come out. Like, are they like, yeah, they're out here, like, can you help me on this? I have this question. Or if they're like, my work just got 10 times more stressful because they're not out here on the floor. That may give you like, if you're looking for an indication, like, look how they react, look what happens. That's going to tell you a lot.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Body language is huge. You either tighten up or they just still kind of loose. I know that whenever the this doesn't have to do with directors or anything, but whenever like the Citizens Academy would come around, I'd just be like, yeah, bring them in. I'd just relax. Some people would tighten up and be like, we got to look professional. I was like, we're going to look professional. We're fine. But this is how we work, man.
Yeah.
People laughing at me isn't bad, right? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not at all. Actually, Leo, one of our buddies right here out in Eaton County, said cutting back on the OT caused stress at first, but it ended up being a big relief for many of our employees. So there's that as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, and another person here, excuse me, Tiffany, she says that every time I listen to the podcast or the lives, I am stunned by the differences between dispatch centers from, I'm sure it's Australia and the US. So I asked her in the comments, what are some of the differences? So I want to see what ends up popping up here. But yeah, the same thing. We used to say the same thing in when I was in dispatch as well, that we are amazing with communications, but when we communicate with each other, we blow, like we suck at it for whatever reason. But I think a lot of times too is people just don't want to speak up sometimes because they don't want to look inferior or weak or something like that. They just want to keep going. They don't want anybody to talk about them or something. But man, I ended up breaking out of that and was just like, I'm just going to say what I feel, because if I don't, one, no one else will, and two, nothing's ever going to change or nothing's ever going to happen. So I might as well just speak my mind now, especially because during that time we were real low staff, so there wasn't any chance that they were going to fire me. So just open my mouth. But yeah, communication, it is a huge thing. But for everyone who is watching and listening, man, if you've got something to say, if you got a question, just say it. And if you're a deputy director or director, I mean, you've got two people right here who are doing it right, communication wise. That's how you do it.
And I will say too, one of the cool things that I've seen across social media is like, this is it's a big deal and it's affecting everybody and emotions are high, but it's one thing right now. And these jobs, call takers, dispatchers, they still have to deal with the everyday stuff, and agencies across America are still celebrating those successes. And it's so cool. And it's so helpful to see, because that doesn't stop. If anything, it gets more. I mean, then maybe there's a little bit of slowdown in some things, but you're still taking those calls. There's still babies being delivered over the phone. And it's really awesome to still see that. And so I hope people keep doing that.
Yeah. And I think something is, and I've learned, is just because you say something now and nothing changes, like, don't assume that it wasn't worth it, especially like with COVID stuff, or maybe you're bringing up things and because of what's going on right now, like, unfortunately, that's not at the top of priority list. You're putting out the small fires from the current situation. So, if there's other things, like, don't be disheartened or think that, well, I said something and nothing's ever going to change. Just stick with it. And if it's important enough in the battle that you're choosing to fight, just keep going with it, especially right now, because there is this overlying topic that we're all trying to sort through, that other stuff is kind of put on pause right now.
And Halcyon, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I hope that for those individuals who are trying to advocate and who are bringing up the ideas, that when they aren't getting the quick response or the response that they want, that they do give their supervisor or their manager's director, whomever, some grace and be understanding, and don't take it personal. Right. And remember that there is a chain of command and things don't happen overnight. There is a process for everything. And maybe right now it's just not something that we can manage with everything else that's going on. But don't forget about it. Right. Submit that email a month later, submit that email 2 months later. Don't let go of your dream or of your idea, but give the people, the decision makers, some grace. And be patient. Give them an opportunity.
For sure. There's another person right in here who's talking as well in the comments. The bottom of it is cut off a little bit, but she says that there are 3 centers that they have there, and she can't physically be there with all of them, but she sends out encouraging emails and notes, and has sent dispatch survival bags with goodies. And they also have an open door policy there, and people are very comfortable with, I think it says, coming in. And so that's good as well. That is always a good thing to know, that the door is open if you ever have anything to go across the hallway with. So from there, that's keeping up morale and everything for the center. But What about some positive changes? What are some positive changes that have been made in your center due to COVID-19? And do you think that they will remain? Halcyon, but you start with this one.
Um, I think every step, so kind of going back to like morale, though, like everything we're doing now to keep that up, I think is a positive change going forward. And hopefully, maybe it won't look the same, but the effort will continue to be the same, going forward. Um, for me personally, I don't, in the grand scheme of things, at my center, we haven't done a whole lot besides some scheduling changes.
Mhm.
So there's not too many that I'm like, yes, I hope this carries forward. But I think in some centers, though, you've seen like a lot more people come together and communication has improved. Some people feel like, they've really been connected with their leadership. So hopefully for those, that continues through, and the kind of like even more of a we are a team mindset that has improved in some places. Hopefully that will carry on through past this kind of stuff.
Awesome. And even though some of those shift changes or schedule changes are, I mean, they might seem minor in a way or anything, but has that helped then in any relief or morale, or would you consider a positive change, something that could carry on that would be good?
I think for some people, we went to 12. Some people like them, some people don't. Ours was more to reduce staffing, so there was less staff at one time. So should someone get it, there's less people having contact. For me, if you come from a small center, if you've ever worked alone, I enjoy it because I think it's definitely like, okay, let's put your skills to the test. Let's see what you're made of. And like, I thrive off that kind of adrenaline and like, let's see how much I can handle at one time. So anybody who's like me might be like, yes, this is great because I'm really like honing in some skills right now. So, I mean, hopefully there's some people like that who are looking at it like, this is a great time to really see what you can do.
I was the same way. When I first started out dispatching in Central Florida, I was the only dispatcher there. It wasn't 12 hours, we were 8 hours. But when it hit the fan, and you were put to the test, man. And we had well, I mean, I was in Florida, so the area that I was in, pretty much everywhere there's orange groves. So there would be a lot of huge fires that would happen, and man, it would go to hell fast. And before I knew it, I was out of it. I'm like, did I black out? What happened?
Along with that, it kind of, I just saw Cam's question, admin level support frontline staff. Look at maybe like along with that, especially if you have reduced staffing or stuff, because the way we're doing stuffing has changed so much so quickly. I think there's like a meme that it's like your 34th policy change email today.
Yeah.
How are you adjusting like your QA or how you're doing reviews or like, and maybe not exactly because again, there's different stuff going on, but if there's positive changes to that, or maybe you're being a little more graceful, maybe look how you can carry that forward or learn from that of how to better kind of approach that stuff of the call reviews, especially when you have less staff and there's more to do and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, Rosa, how about you? What are some of the positive changes that have been made at your center due to this pandemic, and what are some of the things that you think will remain?
The cleanliness has been off the hook.
Yeah.
When I walk into the kitchen, the break room, I'm like, man, I really hope it stays like this when things get back to normal. There's like no dishes in the sink, nothing on the counter. I mean, the microwave, a bomb hasn't been dropped in there. It hasn't been, a nuclear bomb dropped in there. It's been immaculate. But that's one of the things that I'm like, man, I really hope that, I mean, obviously I enjoy it, but that they enjoy it too. This is their home, this is where they prepare their meals. I'm hoping that it's something that's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm digging this cleaning schedule. And that's something also I think that the question that was tossed at Halcyon is how to help is for supervisors, managers, and everybody, don't be afraid to go in there and clean the microwave. right? Don't be above those little things, or don't feel that you're above those things. It's your home too. And so, put the gloves on. I've done it so many times where I'm like, I'm not touching that, but I will put on some gloves and I will clean it up, and I think those little things, people notice it, right? So that's one thing, but I have never seen my team so united as they are right now. Sick calls have gone down immensely. And just seeing them being so supportive of one another and checking on one another when someone is sick, but it's not COVID, it's like, hey, do we know how that person's doing? We had someone who I took it upon myself to say, hey, they have a family. Let's do something for them. With being on lockdown, it's not like they can go out. Let's put something together. And everybody was like, what can we do? What can we do? So it's just really united everyone. It really has. And that's something that I hope that we can continue, regardless of the situation, and that people don't forget that. And people remember this moment and how they have felt throughout this process, and they keep it going. And to not forget to wash their dishes. Big one.
That's funny. What about you, Mia?
All of those things. Yes. The cleanliness, that has been awesome. Teams being united. A lot of times if you've ever worked in a toxic dispatch center, there's a lot of I. And right now, everybody's conversation is us and we, and what can we do? And how can we change this? And so it's really nice to see that. I have teams that are making team dinners. Michigan is still pretty much stay home. So a lot of food, it's not available to go out for takeout and order. So they're making these meals in the back. Like the other night, they had bacon wrapped filet. I'm like, are you kidding? I will be there. I'm on the way. But they're making dinners, and they almost make it a competition between shifts to see who can cook better. So they're doing these things to take their mind off it. And I hope that teamwork and that unity continues as we go forward, for sure. And then, like you said, communication. And then you kind of, some vulnerabilities in your system kind of get displayed sometimes. Like, what if we are inconvenienced and have to move out of this dispatch center, and making sure that everything is on lockdown for them? Like, how can we make it so that if something happens, we can seamlessly move, whether it's work from home or go to a backup center, a makeshift center, having those things in place so that they can still comfortably, confidently do their jobs has been really important. So I hope that moving forward, we continue that as well.
Have any of you done any, or maybe your dispatchers and Halcyon, any of your coworkers, or just there in your center, have you thought about any type of, remote work for dispatch, and anything to that, and to that matter? Like, our buddy Michael here, he mentions, this forced us to learn how to efficiently work remotely. The deputy director or I can dispatch from home in a matter of minutes. If they get overwhelmed within a week, we will also be able to help as full call takers remotely until additional personnel can get to the center. Now, that's for the, the deputy director and director, but, how long before, and of course that all depends on how long this goes, but even planning for the future, if something like this were to happen again, for dispatch to do the same thing.
We definitely have, and we have some things in place where we can do that, whether it's from home, a dispatch trailer, a backup dispatch center, a makeshift backup dispatch center. So we have a kind of a bunch of options, and it's been nice to know that they're out there. So
good.
We don't have quite the capabilities, but I think that this whole thing has kind of planted a seed of like starting the process of looking at like, what if we had to leave? What steps can we take right now to kind of build that way?
I agree with what Halcyon said. For us, we're very limited with our capabilities at our center. But I think this is planting the seed and forcing us, not just at my center, but I think our profession is what's next and how do we learn from this and how do we better prepare? So I think the vendors are learning from this process also, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised in the next conferences that we have, we start seeing a lot of COVID-19 responses. How can your center handle it, the next pandemic or the next evacuation? Things are going to start changing. And I think it's a good thing. I know it's forced my chain of command and other entities in the county to really start looking at dispatch, because it is the hub. It's the nucleus, right? It's the nucleus, and it's where everything starts. So to know that that nucleus is has some cracks, I think it's a huge eye opener, and it's only going to prompt for change and for better change.
Right. Now, our friend Pam here, she says that she's hearing the policies for tactical dispatcher policies are changing, and it is happening remotely. So, policies and all are changing out there. It's just like in for like text to 911, for example, some of it is has changed some places to the point where they're using certain features before they call someone back. They will do a text from 911 first, because there's been so much success with that they do that before calling. And they still call, but a lot of them are changing their policies where they're doing a text from 911 first because of that. So this isn't to the scale of a pandemic and everything, but there are a bunch of changes all over the place, and this, like all of you have said, has forced everyone to think outside the box. How do you further 911 in every capability, every facet of the industry, when you're working with something like this?
And for our industry partners, I think there's going to be some gain for them, right? Because we're all going to start looking at, well, how do I better improve my backup center or my policies and procedures? But what I hope to see is that it's not just this huge money maker, and that we are kind of taken advantage of, because I think everybody has their cat vendor horror store stories, all these different things. For me, it's, all the additional costs. And now, not only are we being impacted in our centers, but fiscally, we're all probably going to take a hit. So where are we going to find the money to finance and purchase all these new these bells and whistles that will help us for the next one? So I hope that that's something that we also can discuss in future. Whether it's a podcast, whatever it is, that we also relay that to our vendors. Hey, we're going to need products. We're going to need your ideas. We're going to need you to think outside the box, produce the things that we need, but don't gouge us either. Right?
No, for sure. And that actually, what you're saying kind of, and not on a vendor aspect of this, but it's a good segue into the next topic here. And it's about continuing essential training. And as we know, almost everything, a lot has been canceled or postponed. So after all of the the budget funds and everything have been spent on these precautions and continued care or whichever for this pandemic, where do you go with training? Because as I've seen in a lot of social media posts, training budgets have been cut, and maybe and I don't know this for sure, but maybe put into different areas so that they can fund different parts or whichever. But how do you continue essential training after funds have been spent?
Dare to be great. 2.0.
Well, that's one of those, but I mean, is that where you think that a lot of that is going to go more into free training, or is there a way to ask the counties? And again, I know this is a hard thing, and I say that because when I was in dispatch, shit, if we tried to ask the county government for something, it was really hard to do that. I mean, we were fighting for a raise, and we finally got a raise, and it was 3%, and we thought we were badass. But then, it was 3% over 3 years that that we were getting this raise. Well, I mean, it was still, we got a raise either way. But that's what I'm getting at. So, how is that going to work? Like, how do you see that working out? What's the future here?
One thing that, going back to like morale and stuff, and Sava being an encourager kind of hit on it too, is like, I think maybe now is the time too to look inward, like who are your SMEs, subject matter experts? And then again, because maybe for morale or because in this career, people do stick around, there's not a lot of upward mobility a lot of times, unless a lot of times if you want to leave and go to a different center, but empowering your people to like take on some training. Don't, force it on people, because that's not going to help anything at all. But, who are your subject matter experts that are like, yeah, I'd love to teach this, and giving them maybe that additional, or for the people who do have the opportunity to go for a conference, or maybe on their own time have studied certain thing and taken certain courses, like can bring that back to your center and can teach the other ones, or you have somebody who's just really good at like a certain topic that's willing to teach it. So I think that there's a lot of knowledge within the centers that isn't always being taken advantage of. And by looking in and kind of empowering people to step up and play a part in it, you're going to build morale as well, and kind of multiple benefits there.
So really, it starts within. It starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Rosa?
No, I agree. I think Halcyon brings out some really good points. And, I haven't thought about that or thought that far. But, I think it is going to be a challenge with funding from a funding perspective. But that's when we do look outside the box, because there are things online. There are other things that we could be doing. That doesn't necessarily mean, hey, we're going to send you to a conference, but then you miss it out. Your people miss out on that whole experience of, I've gone to this conference, I've met all these people. Mm-hmm. Their microwaves are dirty too. The things that it's like, as a manager, you're like, yeah, I'm glad you learned that. You know what I mean? It's like that. We're all in the same boat, we're all, fighting the good fight together. Right. So I don't know what the future holds, but I also don't want to see conferences and in-person trainings go away. I do know that it's important for people to train, but I don't want to see that go away, because you miss out on the whole experience. And as a manager, it's so rewarding to send people to these trainings that have never been to a training or to a conference, and they come back so excited, and they're pumped up, and you're not going to get that as much from an online class. You know what I mean? So I don't know that I really have an opinion about it yet, or a solid answer.
How about you, Leah?
Hey, we're fortunate here in that we get some funding from the state, and the timeline to spend that has been extended. So that, it's not necessarily that we're losing those, but the availability is the issue. So taking advantage of online courses, doing what you can there. But like Halcyon said, look within. What can you do within your own center? Now's the time to do reviews. Maybe set up your own training program where weekly you're sending out a one sheet, like, hey, let's review. We live in a water community here. Let's do water rescues this week. Let's review these things. Hey, do you know what a NINA standards document is? A lot of my people don't know what those are, that those resources are out there. Even mental health resources who you can reach out to, or what training is out there online. So, coming up with different ideas like that you can push out weekly, monthly while this is going on. I think that that's beneficial. So when those in-person classes do come back, you can kind of seek those people out as well and be like, oh yeah, that's right. Let's do that. Or can I go to this? And I think there'll be a lot of motivation to do that.
Now, what are some of the things that you all look for when you're seeking training? Like, what are some of the traits that you're looking for in those in-person training sessions that you get? Any one of you?
Halcyon, go. What are you looking for?
It's different, because I'm not necessarily looking for agency. Like, I'm just very much like, I just want to learn it all. So like, if it's a free webinar, I'm probably going to take it, but relevancy is the biggest thing. I know I've seen before, maybe there's continuing education or simple stuff that centers have to do, but it's like somebody at one point, like their continuing education was the same thing their street officers were taking. So it was like, this has nothing to do with my role. So I don't quite understand why they have to do it. So I think relevancy is the biggest topic. If no matter whether you're getting online training, in-person training, whatever it is, if it's not relevant, I don't want to go to it. Your people probably aren't going to want to go to it. So that would probably be like the number one factor for me.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Is it relevant? Does it fit your continuing education? Is it going to further the knowledge of what's happening? Is it going to keep somebody current or, project them into the future of what's coming? You want to look at all that stuff so people aren't falling behind or feel like they're left out of the loop, for lack of a better term.
I'd like to go one step deeper, one layer deeper. Is we all know who our people are. We all know their strengths and weaknesses. And it's when you're looking at these classes and this training sessions is what is dispatcher A going to gain from this? Mm-hmm. Is this going to build up his strength because my center is weak here, right? She's an amazing trainer. I want her to take this advanced CTO course because not only is she going to get better, but she's going to give this class to my CTOs. And in turn, it's going to make my CTOs better and it's going to make my trainees more successful, right? So I think at our level, we really need to look deeper. And it's just not, it's tactical dispatching, it's EMD, you got to do it. But it's like, what's the benefit for this individual? I really like to look at it that way. When I talk to my supervisor, I'm like, hey, there's these trainings. Who do you want to send?
Yeah.
Who do you want to send to this class? Oh, well, and, we have these discussions where it's like, well, I think that person would benefit because, you know what? Right now they're in a rut. Right. They have a shitty attitude right now. Excuse me. Sorry for those that, their morale's low right now. They're going through a hard time, at home or whatever. Let's give them to this to remotivate them, right? To energize them again. And I think that's huge, for training. And when you're seeking out training for your people, it's not just the surface. It's how is everybody going to benefit and how is that class going to enrich this individual? I really believe in that.
Sometimes you're throwing them into those classes with people who are in the same spot in their career that they are, and it like brings them together like, oh man, I am doing that. Okay, I can do this different. I can take this back to the center. That's a great point.
And I think along with that too, I saw Ryan's comment too, also knowing your people and knowing if I have this person do an online course, they're the type that's just going to click through it and like hopefully pass the quiz to get their certificate versus if I need to send them to an in-person because they need that little extra accountability because not everybody can learn online. So we don't want to completely, kind of move past the in-person trainings, but matching up maybe the topic as well as the format because there are some people who they will do an online and they, get everything out of it versus other people need that in person.
So how do you keep them accountable then for that? If they're doing a, as he put in there, a virtual remote training, it's a good substitute right now because of the situation that we're in. And I fully agree too. I don't ever want to lose that human factor, even though we're able to see each other and everything else. Man, I want to, and Halcyon won't like this, but I want to give someone a hug if I know them, and say hello, like see Ryan and be like, what's up, man? And then sit there and listen to him and feel that energy as he's talking. Because if you've never been in a session that Ryan Dedman does, you need to. He's an excellent speaker, and make sure to check him out. 901 Training Institute. Shameless little plug there for my bro, but for real, like how do you keep people accountable then when you've got that online training like you're talking? There's some people that'll just click through to get that certificate. At the end, you end up saying, write me a report, or what do you do? I mean, how do you continue that?
I mean,
I started doing some of it with them. So we'd utilize some online training here just to kind of keep current and keep with continuing education. in the beginning, I was doing a lot of it with them and we would talk about it. And then I would find that they would kind of do it all together as a group and they would be talking about it and kept it going. So that was one thing in the beginning that was really, really beneficial and kept everybody on the same page and everybody talking.
And like Gina said, teach back, I think is a, I know that there are some centers that where they're like, okay, we're going to send so-and-so and so-and-so to this conference and we're going to pay for it with the expectation that they're going to come back here and share their knowledge.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the same thing with an online course, we're going to have you take this with the expectation that you're going to come back and share what you've learned, and maybe what we can do differently.
Hashtag hugs for Halcyon.
Yeah.
Oh man, we'll see how that ends up coming up at the next in-person conference.
A line of people like trying to give me a hug. I'm just gonna be running down like.
That'll be awesome. I'll make sure to have my camera.
Yeah, we need to put you like in a bubble.
Yeah,
right?
I'll run security for you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I got you, girl.
Oh, that's funny. Well, we are coming up on the hour. We've just got a few more minutes, and this has been excellent conversation and everything for the Dispatchers Roundtable round 2. And I want to go into the wrap up of this live stream, this round, to just mention something really quick. It's been all over social media since it happened, and a lot of people have been asking about it. And the question has been, is there going to be a Dare to Be Great 2?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you're already saying yes. I haven't said yes.
Doesn't matter.
What I want to know is, for all of you that are watching right now, in the comments, again, there's like a 3 to 4 second or so delay. But this is something I want to know. What would you, is this something that you would be down with? Would you like to experience another Dare to Be Great conference? What in again, in the comments, if you can put down, what did you like about it? What made it unique? Because there's a lot of webinars and everything that are going on. Someone just said you can't say no, Ricardo. Oh man, that made me choke on my spit there. But what are some of the things that you liked about it? Because so a lot of people are commenting now. What were some of the things that you liked about Dare to Be Great? Again, there's a lot of webinars that are going on right now, and because of the times, it's what people have to do. A lot of them, training. This is their livelihood, and this is how they're doing what they're doing, and they're charging based on whatever that session is or whatever. And please do check them out. But what were some of the things that made it unique in this this platform that we ended up using for this conference versus other ones? And again, what were some of the things that you liked about it? And as people are commenting on here, let's see. I think you need to get the word out better. I didn't find out about it until after it was over. Yeah, it came up. It was like 3 weeks. It came up out of nowhere. It came up fast, even faster for all of us. All of us were part of it, and we were doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes to make it come to life. And so there was a lot going on. So if we do another one, then there will be way more time to work with, and it'll be all good. So I guess as people are answering here, and there is actually, yeah, I'm going to ask you first, and then there's a question here that Ryan posted that I want to get to as well, really quick before we sign off here. So for the three of you, whoever wants to start, actually, Russell, we'll start with you. What were some of the things that I guess to you kind of made this whole thing unique in what we were doing?
I would say the variety of an experience of the speakers. We had a little bit of everything. I want to say it's all of the up and coming speakers and leaders in our profession. And that's magnificent. I mean, I think we go to these conferences or trainings, and we hear the same people talk over and over again. And I think it was nice to see a mixture of people from all different walks of life and experience. And it was one goal. But I think that the driving force with that was you and the direction that you gave and your vision. Your vision was dare to be great, but it wasn't BS.
Right.
It was real. It was authentic. And I think people felt that. And I think that's why the speakers were like, I got to perform. It's showtime, you know, and I got to give it my all, and I have to perform and I have to prepare. And not only to meet your mission, but also to reach the people, because that's what it was all about. It's reaching our people. And so I think that's why it was unique. In reading how to, you know, the whole call for papers thing. It's like, yeah, you know, I want to go present. I want to be a speaker. I want to do this. But to have someone reach out and be like, hey, this is the mission. This is what I'm doing. I want you. Mm-hmm. That added that extra level of accountability. It's like, shit, I got to get my shit together. My shit's got to be good. Do you know what I mean? And yeah. I think that's why people, you know, identified and they could relate because they felt that energy. I truly believe our viewers felt that energy.
That is a good point right there. So to bring up here really quick, so the presenters are in the industry, so it had valuable information. And then another one here, the personal stories that are relatable. So I think all of that, you know, hits on point. And, you know, sessions were good length because everyone has the opportunity to listen, watch from anywhere. We are one team, one profession. I think that was another, you know, thing that everybody, you know, just enjoyed. They were all able to do it from wherever they were at.
That was the biggest thing, just being at a small center. Like, I had a coworker who literally was like, never in a million years would I've ever been able to see these people, because I don't have the opportunity to go to conferences, you know, for different reasons, or, you know, you can't send everybody, so you have to rotate through and it takes a while. But I think, and a couple people said that, I think that was one of the biggest things, was everybody had access to it on their own schedule, on their own time. And you could really were able to reach out to those people who normally wouldn't have been able to attend, but they're the similar sessions that you're going to get at a conference. So it wasn't like you got like, you know, a secondhand version. You know, you were getting what you would get if you went in person.
Exactly. Leah?
Yeah, it was awesome. I had a couple different perspectives on it. So the speakers were amazing. It's like, you know, one night, one stage, like the Grammys of Dispatch Conference. But for me, it was the whole time, it was the interaction. You had every level of this profession in those comments talking and giving information, giving advice, exchanging contact information, exchanging ideas, much like you would if you were in person. And that to me was so awesome. And everybody was so positive and they were getting something out of it and passing it on to other people. So that was the awesome side for me. And I know if I were to be invited to be on the back end again, I promise people that there will be more candid videos of Ricardo singing, because that was hilarious. Every day it was a new song and he couldn't hear me. So I'd like text him lyrics. It was hilarious.
Man, yeah, that was a lot of fun. So sometimes when I get nervous, I will start singing songs. yeah, just like that. And that was one of the things that I did. So everyone can keep commenting and everything. I'm seriously considering doing this, and if it happens, it'll be the week of July 6th. And that's this July. You heard it here first. If it happens, that's the time that I'm thinking that it'll go. So there are two last questions here. We've got just a couple minutes. But Ryan asks, what advice can all of you give to training companies in the industry? And I'm guessing it's for, you know, training during this time, maybe, as we're in these weird times.
Can you expand on your question, Ryan?
And we'll wait for him to respond. But one of the other questions on here was, where did it go? Where did it go? To quickly talk about pros and cons. Yeah, pros and cons of debriefing, where dispatchers are left out. I'm looking for the question here again, but that's basically what it was.
I think that should always be invited, not forced, but always invited.
Yep.
And I would say not forced, but maybe for your newer people who haven't gone, maybe a little extra step of encouragement. Just, hey, check it out. If it doesn't benefit you, that is totally fine. If you don't want to go, that is totally fine. But I just encourage them to maybe try it once.
I would agree with that. It's not forced here, but it's encouraged and it's supported above anything. I mean, yes, if you want to go, this is something that's available to you. Please do. If you want somebody to go with you, we can make that happen too, whatever the case may be. So definitely a benefit for those who need it or want it.
I think for my center, that's something that we can grow upon because it's, I don't want to say we're the afterthought, but I think with so many, we're pretty big agency and so many, we're a consolidated agent, not a consolidated agency, but contract for services. So we have multiple agencies. And so sometimes we forget to be included, but that's always been something that I wanted to do internally is do our own after action for each of the big incidents. Because I think we do that when people are in training, but once they are cut loose and they're soaring on their own, we forget to, hey, let's come back, listen to this recording. How do you feel that you did? Because chances are they're going to they're only going to identify things that they see where they think they need improvement, but that's an opportunity for you to come back and say, well, sure, I see that, but these are all the other reasons where you were successful.
Yes.
Another training tool for those that are not in training. Do you know what I mean? So that's one of my goals as manager, to get to that point where we can pull people off the floor and sit down, like, listen to this. Let me know how you feel you did. And then let's talk about how we think you did.
And I would, for those big events too, I would encourage dispatch centers, just because you're not invited by the police or fire or EMS agency that, may have been primary on that, you can have your own within your own agency, or at least offer it. And that could be beneficial as well.
Perfect. Now, somebody asked one last question here about the information on the conference. The Dare to Be Great 2020, I have just put in the comments for you, Marilyn. If you click on that there, just click on any of the the pre-conference day 1 through day 3. You'll register, and you'll be able to get all of the replays and everything on there. They are available indefinitely. Eventually, I will put them on YouTube as well. I'm also working on tonight. Actually, I'm working on the certificate. So if you registered for the conference, there are emails that are attached to it, and I will be sending out certificates to those who registered. When they're put on YouTube, however, nothing will be coming up through that. It'll be for those who registered, because I'll have all the information through there. So that'll be coming up soon, but I'll be working on the certificate tonight and hopefully get it out by Friday. Tomorrow is a day where I'm not sure how much I'm going to be working tomorrow, but I will be there for open mic live tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, all 3 of you. I almost said all 4 of you. Why am I counting myself? Thanks you, all 4 of you. Thank you for joining me. Good God. Thank you for joining me for Dispatchers Roundtable Round 2. Round 3 will be 8 p.m. Eastern, May 27th, and we will have an all-new panel of folks. And as long as it all works out, as long as it works out, it'll be should be Adam Tim and Ryan Dedman, Brendan Sears of Humanizing the Headset, and then actually Halcyon as well. So we were going to that was going to be the crew for round 1, and the pandemic hit and everything got changed up and different topics and everything. But round 3 will be that original group that I was going to have. Thank you all again for joining us tonight, and continue to put your information there in the comments, because people will be able to talk back and forth on that. And again, with the overwhelming response on Dare to Be Great, I am seriously considering a number 2, and that would be as soon as July. So again, thank you all very much. If you have any comments, questions, you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that'll be wttpodcast@gmail.com. I can't find the damn thing there. There it is. Gee. wttpodcast@gmail.com. And if you are looking for bonus episodes, swag, the behind the scenes series, anything like that, you can check us out on patreon.com. There, Halcyon's got her swag right there. She is a patron as well. And so it's patreon.com/WTT podcast. And all of the support that came from there was also what went towards the platform that brought you Dare to Be Great 2020. So thank you all to the patrons for that. Amazing. I appreciate the support, all of it. And we will see you again next time. Have a good one, everybody.
Good night.
Nice.
Bye, guys.